Hey everyone, it's Kathy with Backyard Columbus, and I thank you for tuning in today. And today's episode is about fall planting and planning. So this is the time of year where I like to plan what I'm going to do for the following year's yard stuff. So we have all of September. It's very late August right now, and we have all of September to go through, but not all of September to go through to get what we would like to have accomplished for our gardens. So we have garden cleanup, and if you are a person who is wanting to get started, then I think fall, get started on your yard plan. So you have these ideas of maybe the vegetable garden you would like to do, or the native habitats you would like to create, like a butterfly garden, pollinator plants, and all that kind of stuff. If you wait until spring, and trust me, I have done this before, you wait till spring and then all of a sudden April turns into June because either you're busy with work or you have kids or you have pets or you just, who knows what, life is busy, right? And so waiting until spring always is a bad idea because time goes by so quickly. So planning ahead will really go a long way. And what is very important about this fact is that in the fall, if you would like to say, let's stick with, you would like to plant a pollinator garden, okay? You'd like to create some native habitats and flowers specifically. Many of those flowers, native flowers you plant by seed, that is the cheapest, most cost-effective way to begin, or even add to, is by seed. And so those seeds must be planted in the fall. It took me a very long time to learn this, and I wasted a lot of time and, more importantly, a lot of money because I either didn't read the instructions or the instructions weren't clear that those seeds, these native seeds of perennials, and again, perennial means they come back year after year, you only plant them once, versus an annual like a zinnia or cosmos or marigold that you have to plant annually. You have to plant them every year. A perennial will come back every year. But many of those perennial seeds have to go through what's called a cold stratification. And that just means it needs to go through a winter. It needs a cold snap, a cold, wet period of time in order to germinate in the spring. So if you wait until May to plant those seeds of the perennial, usually, not exclusively, but usually they won't germinate, they won't grow. And then you're like, well, heck, what did I do wrong? And there's usually no one to tell you. You just have to figure it out eventually on your own. So that is why fall is a great time to plan this, because then you can say, okay, let's see, that area by my sidewalk, I've got 15 square feet that I would like to make a pollinator garden, a very small pollinator garden. I'm going to buy my seeds. I'm going to dig up that area, prepare the soil, sprinkle the seeds in on late September, and then, tamp the earth back down, maybe give it a light brushing of mulch and call it a day. And then you're all ready for next year for your spot. And then you just have to add your cute little doodads, or maybe you want to add a little pot or a little spot of zinnias to that area, and then you're ready. If you're into vegetable gardening, obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, you cannot plant any of that stuff in the fall and have it live through winter, except kale, but that's a totally different story. It will kind of live through our winters now, but I like to plan, like when we started our vegetable garden, we said, okay, where would we like our vegetable garden to be? What would we like our vegetable garden to look like? And then in the fall, we started laying out the design in our heads, but also preparing the area. Because for me, once spring hits, it's planting season all over the place. And I don't have time to then build out a vegetable garden area. So if you went ahead next month, or any time between now and next month, into maybe mid-October, because it's not fun to do all this stuff when it gets cold and wet and rainy. So you go by your garden beds and you maybe get some soil, get a compost pile, maybe had a compost pile going, get everything ready. And what I would encourage you to do also on that point, don't put down under your garden beds heavy black impermeable liner. Like impervious. Yeah, impervious. I think I slaughtered the word. Anyway, impervious liner. Anything that goes a weed block under your garden beds needs to be able to soak into the soil. So weed block fabric is okay, but I have seen a weed block that practically look like a pond liner, and that is defeating the purpose. You want worms to come up from the ground into your garden bed. Worms are a gardener's friend, so don't put anything that's going to absolutely block your garden bed from the ground. But point is, do all your research now, lay your plans, order your supplies, get everything ready, and to the best of your ability, go ahead and build it out so that in the spring, you only have to maybe add more soil, add soil totally, buy your plants, start your seeds, or however you're going to do that. And then that's all you have to do versus, oh my gosh, where are we going to put it? How big is it going to be? What do we want to plant? And then listen, a day becomes a week, becomes a month, and then all of a sudden it's too late to start your garden. I have done this many times. And because I run pretty busy, like we all do. You know what I mean? No matter what your busy is, whether it's work or other lofty reasons, or you're just on TikTok too much, whatever it is, I am encouraging you to start planning now. So you can kind of look around your yard, take a stroll around your property, if you will. And I don't see enough people doing that. I say this all the time. Your yard, this is the way that I look at it, I'll say. My yard is an extension of my home. It's not just my quote-unquote yard. Why would I want a yard that all I do is mow it when I could have beautiful flowers? We do have a chicken coop. I'm sure most of you don't want all that, but we have some ponds, and I see bees and butterflies, and we have vegetables that we get, and it's just become a much more interesting place. And I have worked really hard in the beginning, and I try to plan effectively to the best of my ability so that I can enjoy it and have fun with it, and it doesn't become such a chore. So a vegetable garden, to be honest, really ought to be kind of a fun endeavor. And so that's why I'm encouraging you to think about what you might like to do with any of these things, whether it be a vegetable garden, a pollinator garden, adding a little corner of a native habitat into your yard. It should be an enjoyable process. And if you're trying to squeeze it in, plan it and squeeze it in between all of your other things in life, it's going to feel more like a chore and like an ugh, like a hassle. And who wants that? You got enough hassles in your life no matter what you're doing in your life. So that's why I'm encouraging you to plan now. Do some research as far as the vegetable gardens go. Mel Bartholomew's Square Foot Gardening is an oldie but a goodie. It is very simple read. It's a kind of revolutionary if you have never done raised bed gardens. You can buy a raised bed at just about anywhere. Amazon, a hardware store, all kinds of places. I am sure you could even get it from Walmart, honestly. So anyway, those are very good, and they add an architectural element to your backyard. So you can, if you have no idea where to begin, go to your local nursery and say, maybe not with vegetable gardening. I mean, you can certainly buy vegetable plants there in the spring. But if you want to plan something, I will provide some links in the show notes of some local places here in Central Ohio that will actually come in and help you to create a native landscape, however large or small. So that's great. There is a gal here in Central Ohio who will help you create an edible landscaping plan. So that's really groovy. Edible landscaping means that within your landscape, you have foodstuffs. I mean, you could do this, peppers, tomatoes, and all that, but those aren't really that pretty. But I mean like fruit-bearing bushes, fruit-bearing trees, herbs I'm sure you could do. There's lots of edible things, even well beyond what I know. There are lots of things, foragers and people like that. They really know what it is. We have a lot of flowers in our yard that are edible that I don't even know, and just learned a couple of those. So this girl can help you. Her name, I know her name, but I think it's Katie. Anyway, that's beside the point. I'll put the notes in my show notes, or put a link in my show notes to her. And there are several companies that can come in and help you create all that. But your local nursery may have some ideas of what are great native plants to get started for a native habitat, to get your yard a little more than just a bunch of grass you got to mow. So anyway, the whole point of this episode was I encourage you to, and I do realize also that's about the 6th time I've used the word encourage, but I would implore you to start now, and you can enjoy your spring and summer because you will be ahead of the game, and you will turn your yard into something you didn't even realize that you wanted. So as always, I thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please drop me a line. And if you have any ideas of a future episode you'd like to hear, send that my way. Also, have a great day.